can say that I've been through a number of things here and there, but I'm all right.
Johnny Depp is breaking his silence, calling out fake Hollywood and the friends that froze him out, as well as reflecting on the Amber Heard trial in a new interview with the Sunday Times.
He kept quiet for a long time, but now Johnny Depp is done holding back. In a bold new interview, he exposes the snakes in Hollywood, reflects on betrayal, and shares the deep scars left by one of the most high-profile celebrity trials of our time. This isn't just another interview, it's a reckoning.
I am Andy Signor, and I will not let history be rewritten on my watch. Johnny Depp is an innocent man, proven so in a trial in Virginia. And there's still a lot of people out there that are trying to change the story and make it seem like that's not what happened, but it is. A jury of his peers revealed that. And he's about to start a big Hollywood film with Penelope Cruz. And he's out there doing some press, clearly getting ready for it because these questions are clearly going to be asked as he steps back into the limelight. And in a big quote that's making headlines around all the media, Johnny Depp, I was a crash test dummy for me too.
In a raw 4-0 session with the Sunday Times, Depp doesn't name names, but he makes it clear Hollywood turned its back on him. He talks isolation, betrayal, and the scars of fame. I can be isolated and happier than a clam. He says, an eerie reflection of a man who's lived through public hell.
This is a 4-hour session he did with Jonathan Dean, opening up about the Amber Heard trials, his painful childhood, 40 years of fame, and the friends who turned their back on him. Let's get into it, and then I want to go through some of the reaction and why it's important to always remind everybody that Johnny Depp is innocent, was found innocent by a jury. My comeback, he says, mischievously making it clear that he does not consider his return to Hollywood anything of the sort. Honestly, I didn't go anywhere, he shrugs. If I had actually had the chance to split, I would have never come back. Now, I believe that. Now, he's been, isolating himself a bit. I can be isolated and happier than a clam.
Depp never wanted to be famous. Fame is an occupational hazard, he shrugs, but he knew the cost of silence was higher. If I don't speak the truth, it's like I actually committed the acts I was accused of.
He doesn't like to be around people, but I don't get out much. I'm stuck with my thoughts, just thinking, writing, or watching weird stuff on YouTube. It can't be healthy. I mean, that's true. We all do this, sadly. We all do this. It's not the healthiest, but at least he's acknowledging it. Does he try to get himself out there, use disguises? I've tried hats, or I can grow a beard. There's never any way to hide, and I just feel uncomfortable causing this weird form of attention I do because I'm really shy. I can attest to that. He is very shy. I was lucky enough to spend some time. I'm not trying to name drop.
But the deepest wounds weren't from Amber Heard. They were from friends, the ones who smiled at his kids' birthday parties and turned their backs when the world did. They took the money, Depp says, then lied behind my back.
But you can just tell, one, he's over this. He doesn't want to keep talking about Amber. It's so clear. At the same time, he's frustrated at what happened. That's also very clear. But he wants to move on with his life. And now that he's cleared his name, just go on and do what he was doing. He's not out there trying to bash Amber. In fact, he doesn't mention her at all. He sort of talks around her and talks about love in general. But just like in trial, he's very careful about not bringing up that name. The fame is the last thing I ever chased. If you look at the 9,000 years that I've been doing this, it's pretty clear that I wasn't ever thinking, how could I be more famous? Well, that's true if you've ever followed his career. He'd always try to hide his face, etc. Make a hit or please the press. Fame is an occupational hazard. But if I spout off about how upset I am, people will say, sweetheart, take a job pulling trash bags.
Johnny talks about his mother, his childhood, and the toxic love that drew him into a nightmare. Sometimes you look in someone's eyes and think you can fix them, he says, but the cost was everything.
He knows he can't go complain about it, which is what a lot of Hollywood people tend to do these days. And it's clearly frustrating. So how did he deal with fame? Well, to this day, I rarely go out. Saying in one of his loud, lengthy guffaws, if friends invite me out for Mexican, I say, dude, that's sweet of you, but I will just ruin your night. My presence will bring attention, and Jesus, I've had almost 40 years of fame, but I'm still not used to it, and I'm glad I'm not. What advice does he give Lily Rose, his actress daughter? He smiles. Sometimes kids say to me, I want to be an actor. What's your advice? And I say, don't be. I know what's coming for them. I was chucked on that road, and the only advice I can give is don't allow anyone to make you something you are not. They'll want you to be a poster boy, and it's tempting, a lot of money, and if that's the direction you want, go for it, but don't let anybody choose for you. Exactly why he's done a lot of...
Fans never left his side, but Hollywood did. He warns of people who pretended to support him, only to turn vicious when cut off. Those are the worst types of people, he says. They'll celebrate you and destroy you the moment you say no.
Oddball roles, as they would sort of call it, which, to be fair, is what he's done. Now, why did he want to air all this dirty laundry in public? Brought even all of his ex-girlfriends stepped up and backed him up in court statements. So much literal dirty laundry aired in public, and I never really understood why Depp brought these cases to court. Well, then you didn't understand the case, and you don't know the facts, which is frustrating. And this interviewer learned the facts because it was very clear why Johnny did this, and he's going to explain again. Surely, I say, he must regret the details that the public became privy to. Look, it had gone far enough, he says firmly. I knew I'd have to semi-eviscerate myself. Everyone was saying, it'll go away, but I can't trust that. What will go away? The fiction pawned around the effing globe? No, it won't. Facts.
I was the primo to crash dummy, Depp says. He wasn't just defending his name, he was standing against a wave. Critics tried twisting his words, framing him again, but Depp's not backing down.
It never does. It never does. It's always used against you by your haters. If I don't try to represent the truth, it will be like I'm actually committed the acts I'm accused of, and my kids will have to live with it. Their kids that I've met in hospitals. So the night before the trial in Virginia, I didn't feel nervous. If you don't have to memorize lines, if you're just speaking the truth, roll the dice. Woo! I love that quote. I love it. It's true. That's always was very evident to me throughout the trial. And actually, as someone who got to speak to him, not someone who was like starstruck and unable to do it. I went into my meeting with Johnny worried. I'm like, what if it's clear he's a jerk? Because you can read people. And it was so clear he was the person out there that he just wanted to be over all this. He didn't want to get involved. And he's so gentle.
Through it all, Depp never lost his voice. Even in silence, he wrote, he observed, and now he speaks for the broken. If I end up pumping gas, I've done it before, he says. That's not defeat, it's defiance.
He's very gentle and shy and, a little slow in a good way of just, he takes his time. He's not, slow seems like it's a negative word, but no, I'm a very fast person. I could take a lot of cues and advice from him because you do just sometimes need to slow your thoughts and your process. And he doesn't at all come across like the person Amber tried to be. And here his voice is risen, shaking. He fiddles with a cigarette paper. Look, none of this was going to be easy, but I didn't care. I thought I'll fight until the bitter effing end. And if I end up pumping gas, that's all right. I've done that before. He goes on to explain here. So continue veering back to the trial and heard. What were my initial dealings with what we call love?
This isn't about revenge. It's about truth. Johnny Depp stood trial in court hand in the court of public opinion. He walked away from both with scars, but also strength.
And again, he didn't say the name. The author did. Clearly obtuse. And what that means is if you're a sucker like I am, sometimes you look in a person's eyes and see some sadness, some lonely thing, and you feel you can help that person. He was used by, just like Elon Musk was. So clear how people are defending her when there's a history of this. It's not just Johnny. Elon is the biggest cuck ever in the world. Go read his book. His whole family, everybody calls out Amber for what she is. They call her the literal Joker. And people are still trying to paint it like she's this victim and Johnny was the abuser. Nonsense. Go do more research. No good deed goes unpunished, he says, because there are those who, when you try to love them and help them, will start to give you an understanding of what that malaise, that perturbance was in their eyes.
If you stand for truth over fake headlines, hit that like button. Share this to keep the facts alive. What do you think of Johnny's comeback? Drop your thoughts below.
It manifests itself in other ways. And the interesting thing is that it merely is a sliver of my life I have chosen to explore because is my mother and my father. Do you know what I'm saying? Well, not entirely, but he goes in. He had a tough time with his mother, Betty Sue, his mother. This was opened up about in the trial, but he had a tough time. This is where he came from. Women, powerful women, clearly is something that, take advantage of him as a history he's had. As weird as I am, certain things can be trusted, he argues, and my loyalty is the last thing anybody could question. Now, I can attest that. I've talked to a lot of people in and out of spheres, etc. That is one thing true. He doesn't turn on people like that. He's not out there calling people out. I was with one agent for 30 years, but she spoke in court about how difficult I was.
The scars from the trial weren't just legal, they were spiritual. In private, Depp admits he wrestled with self-doubt, silence, and the fear of becoming a tabloid ghost. What scared me wasn't the lie, it was that the lie was winning, he said.
That's death by confetti. Those fake mother effers who lie to you, celebrate you, say all sorts of horror behind your back, yet keep the money. Facts. That confetti machine going, because what do they want? Dough. They don't care about what's right or wrong. And then when they're kicked out, then they turn on you. They'll sit there and talk all sorts of smack behind your back. But once they lose access, they turn. Those are the worst types of people. I had so many in my life. People I trusted, people I opened up to. And then as soon as you cut them loose, respectfully or for whatever reason, they get angry and then they claw out and they lie and they make accusations or they do stuff or they share secrets. Anybody who does that to you, actually, it's a godsend because you learn who your friends are. You learn who can and cannot be trusted, and people see who's out there talking smack.
Despite the chaos, Depp is now rebuilding. Not a comeback because, as he puts it, I never left. He's filming again, releasing new music, and even mentoring young actors quietly behind the scenes.
And nobody's ever going to trust those people. They're the worst types of people in the world. And usually because they're insecure in themselves. I'll tell you what hurts. There are people, and I'm thinking of 3 who did me dirty. Those people were at my kids' parties, throwing them in the air. And look, I understand people who could not stand up for me because the most frightening thing to them was making the right choice. I was pre-Me Too. I was like a crash test dummy for Me Too. It was before Harvey Weinstein. That's true. And that quote's been taken into context and some people are trying to use it against him in weird ways, but none of that is unfactual. And I sponged it. I took it all in. And so I wanted from the hundreds of people I've met in that industry to see who was playing it safe. He pauses. Better go woke, he hisses. By the end of the night, it's as if Depp simply wants some company. He breaks out a bottle of wine, blah, blah, blah. They go in there. The whole article gets into a little bit more detail.
His story is now a symbol for truth, for survival, and for anyone who's been torn apart by false narratives. Fans from around the world continue to show support, from TikToks to murals. They never forgot him, and neither will we.
But yes, those people did him dirty. That's clearly where it still stings. Now, what's frustrating is as he goes through all this and stands up for himself, rightfully, there's still a lot of bad comments out there, man. The Amber army does not go. It's now the Blake army, to be honest. It's the Meghan Markle army. It's these horrible women who are just narcissistic egomaniacs who deserve to be called out. Who refuse to take their own accountability. Yet here they are telling Johnny to take accountability. For what? What accountability is Amber taking? Now, great to see some of the I stands with Johnny's, etc. I stand with Amber. He's not a victim. It's nuts. Like Amber didn't get completely eviscerated. He made out to be some sort of victim during that debacle of a trial. Debacle of a trial? Yeah, it was her fault.
This is just one chapter of Johnny Depp's story. Subscribe for the full story because Hollywood has a short memory, but truth doesn't. Next week we'll uncover how another star faced the same betrayal and fought back.